Okay, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna do continue the Pikeman's Lament um, campaign I started in that little test game battle report. That was a pretty simple attacker defender scenario just to get a handle on the rules. But this time I'm trying out one of the different missions. This is beating up quarters and continuing sort of the story from the original. Um, the troops here are not actually on top of the roofs and sort of the game. They're in those buildings. They're sleeping. So from last time, the scenario was that this was an Ottoman, a contested sort of estate, winery estate that was in the hands of a Turk, and a Habsburg noble was coming to try and take it back, but he was killed in action, wasn't very successful, um, and rolled poorly on the officer's chart. So we have a new officer, him here, the trumpet in this unit of Harquebusier. Finished one of these bases today, this one, so I could film this in part. So we'd have a different horse unit to try out for the European forces. So we'll go over the armies real quick. So we've got the Habsburgs have moved into this estate, and they've reinforced it. So they've built, we'll say it's been a few weeks at least. They've built this little cabin. So for this mission in Pikeman's Lament, you need 4 structures. So we've got the buildings that were featured in the last video, plus this little paper model cabin that some of the musketeers are crammed into. Got the artillery crew are in this building here, some more musketeers, and they've brought some additional pikemen in to defend the perimeter. Musketeers, and then the command unit of Harquebusiers. So, and then for the Ottoman forces, we'll get to the actual mission stuff in a second. We've got 2 squadrons of Spahi this time. We've got some, well, in real life they were called Sekban, but here they're commanded shot. So in the rules it says these are run in units of 6, but I've got 8 in 2 bases. So, but we'll just stay true to the 6 in the rules. So as soon as they take 6 casualties, it's safe to say the others are going to run off and run away, not make a heroic last stand. We've got so they can skirmish and do things like that, which is pretty another sort of thing that happened in this historically in this region. And up from the Ottoman fortress, we've got more cavalry, of course, but we've also got more janissaries, and we've got some more detached shot there. And then these guys are going to be counted as veteran janissaries. This is the command unit. This is our commander from last time. I only gave him 5 honor, mostly for killing the officer. So we're not going to. Let's see if I can move this in closer. He's not going to level up just quite yet. He's 5 away, but I did upgrade his unit to veterans, and we've got the regimental gun from last time. So we've got all that, and then so the troops. This is going to be another scenario rule. The troops are sleeping in these buildings, and so I think these yellow-jacketed musketeers, they're going to be on the first floor of this one, with the pikemen are on the second floor. These pretty self-explanatory, and it's pretty self-explanatory as well, I think, of who's in what building. I know it kind of looks kind of weird because they're on the roofs, but and then we've got the Harquebusier out on patrol. And then the artillery gun is set up, so I've upgraded that in the Austrian Habsburg list to be a field gun, so it's a lot more powerful than the regimental gun that the Ottomans have, which is a little bit lighter. And then the crew is over here. So I am going to house rule this a little bit. I'm going to say the crew can move the 6 inches that infantry can. Which, no, made a mistake. Still learning these rules. So that's, they can move, guns can move, the regimental guns can move 6 inches. Normally the cannon can't, but I'm going to house rule it and have the crew can move 6 inches. But once they get to the gun, they're in place dealing with the gun. So we'll see what happens with that. And we also have some defenses. So we'll have that count as additional stamina if someone's mounted is behind that. And so I think with an overview of the scenario and the rules, we'll get the first turn started. And then just a note on the terrain. This side of the estate, and I've sort of imagined it as there's some vines, some grape vines, but not as many. Most of the agricultural work is on the other side that we've kind of shifted the battle map away from to this other direction. This is where the Turks are charging in from, and that's why the Habsburgs have built some of these gabions. And then I do have a stone wall over here. Not sure if we'll use that though, but I think for this first part of the video, I'll go ahead and get the first turn going and we can see what happens. So it's early morning, so shooting visibility is limited to 12 inches for everybody. So that might change some things up a bit. And if you watch the previous report, you know that the random activation in this game can create a lot of surprises. So we'll see what happens on this opening turn. Okay, this is a much bigger battle, so we'll see how this goes. Got a lot more models, and I think I forgot to mention the new officer traits, which I had to re-roll a few times because I was getting the same ones from last time, and I wanted to change it up. So he's a foreigner, so I think he'll be maybe like a Italian, maybe Northern Italian, perhaps, that's in Habsburg service. So he gets 15 honor, but no morale bonus to commanding his troops. Language barrier, I guess. And he's also offensive, so his unit or a unit within 12 inches can pass an attack activation with no dice roll. And then the Ottoman officer, he is strong, so you get rerolls on attacks with units. Models in this unit get rerolls on attacks, and he's got Gapa, so one unit in 12 inches can automatically pass a move activation with no test required. So with that, I will shift over here and see what the Turks are able to do this turn. So we'll start on this end, and like I said, a lot more models in this game, so we'll see who can do what, but I think we'll start with the cavalry. Okay, so Ottomans had a pretty successful turn one. Nothing too wild. Everybody passed their activation test. Used the free move order on these horse, and the commanded shot can move 8 inches instead of the normal infantry moving just 6. So the ones over here and the ones on the opposite end of the table moved. But the deployment zone was pretty crowded, but no shooting. So everybody's just sort of advancing up and trying to move in, converge in on the Austrian positions. So let's see if the musketeers can wake up and spring into action. Okay, so the dragoons actually failed their activation roll. They don't get a bonus since they have the officer. I was going to try and have them shoot at these Turkish horse here, but they failed their activation, so that's it for them. That's a bummer. And these guys are still cooped up in the house, so we will see what happens on the next turn. Okay, Ottomans didn't do much on their turn. Just these cavalry screened out a little bit more in front. Wanted to try and have the skirmishers move up, but no such luck. So back to the Habsburgs. Okay, so dragoons activated. They moved behind this gabion to take cover, so they can hopefully set up some fire and start skirmishing their Turkish cavalry counterparts. These musketeers in red were awake and moved out. So the rules as written say you can deploy, once you pass that activation at -1, you can set up on any side of the structure. Of course, I've added these walls in, so but certainly, I mean, there's nothing stopping them from jumping over. These guys are on the bottom floor of this house, and then the only other unit that made it out, because this unit actually failed their activation, is the artillery crew. So they got up. They're going to try and scramble to get over to their gun and start shooting. So let's see what the Ottomans are able to do. Okay, so the Ottoman turn could have gone pretty badly for the Habsburgs. The Spahi tried to charge in against the dragoons coming up the side here, but the dragoons successfully tested to fire and evade, so they can take a couple shots, but it's at a -1, and they only got 2, so that's not enough to overcome their stamina value, and it's dark, so everybody gets stamina +1, so it's going to be hard to get a hit. And then everyone else pretty much just moved up. So I think for this, let's zoom out a little bit. So that's where we are, beginning of the stages of this game. I think next time, or I'll leave this part off here, and then I'll pick it back up next time with the Austrian Habsburg turn. It's a pretty big battle, and this table's probably not the best size for it. I went up to 34 points on both sides, I believe. So we'll see what happens, though. The Austrian pike are pretty strong, and they've got two of those pike blocks. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully their officer doesn't get killed this time. But I also think, just as a wrapping up this part, I think these commanded shot might be a little more valuable for the Ottomans, because they can really move up quickly and try and set fire to those structures. So victory points are based on the structures that are burned or lit on fire. So I guess they decided it's better they had to burn the estate to save it, and so they're going to see if they can burn these structures, and that's where I'll pick up in part 2, and I hope you enjoyed this intro to this battle, and talk to you next time.